And you always get people that are like, "Yo, man, you should just do those things in quiet, never talk about them." I'm like, man, when you can do good deeds and talk about them, and that's a bad thing, the world has gone to shit.
Welcome to episode 40 of the Migtown Podcast, your only weekly source for the show that hits the wall better than any of these thoughts. As always, I'm producer Tim. Joining me is the mayor of Migtown. Say hi, Drexel.
Hello, everybody in the world.
And also joining us in the studio today is that umbrella guy. Go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey there, how's it going, folks? That umbrella guy, YouTuber, comic maker, father. I guess that works.
That's always the one that you care about, and you're like, I got to put that on there just so that I don't get attacked. Because as you know, Tug, everyone just assumes that every guy on Earth is, a toxic misogynist. And then when you're talking about fatherhood, they kind of have this look. They're like, oh, right, oh.
It's weird, man. A lot of people almost they treat that like it's some kind of weird taboo subject. Yeah. I'm proud of my kids, man. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, the language, right? The shaming language never seems to cease, right? Everything is bad man, bad man, bad man. Obviously our man Johnny Depp, things of that nature. The man is always the bad guy, right? And one of the things that I find funny is none of this could be possible without the media propaganda. And Tug, I want your take. I know, I watch your channel and subscribe. You talk a lot about the media and their obviously, their blatant hypocrisy, right? Whether it be the Johnny Depp situation, the Marvel situation. So what would you say is your biggest takeaway that you're seeing when it comes to media? We're talking about mainstream media versus men and the fandom.
Man, I think men and fandom, I think they treat us both. Isn't it strange? Like fandom is terrible, but also men. I mean, we're treated exactly the same. That's such an interesting comparison.
Isn't it crazy how that works?
Well, yeah, it is.
What do you think about when the statistics break down? And one of the things I find funny with the media, and I can't remember if it was you or it may have been Flash did a video about this way back when. A movie came out. It was, another one of these, like, I think it was like a Marvel movie or something. And they were trying to shame men, right? Why didn't you see our movie? I know what it was. It was Birds of Prey, right? Birds of Prey came out. Did you ever see the actual breakdown of the demographics of who went to go see the movie?
Well, it's just like, oh God, what is it? The Charlie's Angels movie.
Oh, yep.
Yep. Yeah, it's the majority men, but if you tell, it's just like we see in mediums like comic books. These people are the ones they're the fastest ones to tell you if you don't like whatever, don't go see my movie, or this movie's not made for you, don't go see it. But it's a catch-22. If you don't go see it, then you're some type of monster. I mean, you're really the built-in excuse anyway for failure.
Absolutely.
As a man.
Well, what's funny is that when movies do succeed, right? Let's just say for the sake of argument, Birds of Prey comes out last year, right? And let's say it does historic numbers, right? Historic numbers. Here's what the narrative is. This movie is so important because it was directed by a woman. It stars a woman. It has right? But when it fails, it's always, you men didn't see the movie. And then when they do a demographic breakdown, they go like this, 55% of tickets bought were, guess who? Men. And Tug, you and I both know, when it comes to these stats, what they don't account for is the amount of men taking their girl to the movies, right? Because they don't ever talk about that. Right? Because it shows you who's at the movies, right? Male versus female. But what it doesn't say is who was the one that actually got up, got dressed, paid for the movie. Usually that's the dude. More guys take girls out to movies than vice versa. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's not that many girls being like, babe, Tug, I want to take you to the movies.
Oh man, I'm a Southerner, so that is my responsibility anyway. I was raised like that.
Southern gentleman, right?
It's the
Now,
seven
now,
Now, Drex, you know that the only reason these guys are paying for movies for women is obviously to get in their pants, which is dirty misogyny. You know.
well, of course, but you know what's not misogynistic at all? Women using dudes for dinner dates, i.e., foodie calls, OnlyFans, right? That's perfectly okay. Foot pics are okay. Milking simps for their money is okay. And making sure that you always keep up that hashtag tug. But women, right?
What? I remember the argument being made in the media where, you know, we heard about independence from men, but at the same time there was always this catch-22 that it's not really independence if you pay for the dinner or if you pay for the movie. It's
right. It's always a la carte, and that's, you know, shout out to Bill Burr before he went any form of woke and married a German Shepherd. He used to talk about that. well, our man, Bill Burr, used to talk about that, right? He talked about how, you know, these feminists want their equality a la carte, right? They want to pick and choose. Hey, Tug, we're all equal. We have to make sure we get paid the same. And then I'm going to get up in a dude's face, talk crazy, push him, slap him in the face, and then when he retaliates, you can't hit me. Wait, what? Because a dude knows, right? Like, Tug, think about when you were growing up. Guys understood very early on in life everything they did had a consequence, right? Like pushing a kid or spitting on a kid, you were like, no. There's direct physical violence as a consequence for that behavior, right?
Well, you knew that there would always be there would be consequences, but there will always be physical violence too. I don't know. I could go maybe 2 days without there being some kind of fight or something, right. You know, and there'd be a huge altercation, you know, every single week. I kind of liked that when I was younger, to be honest. I liked it quite a bit.
Well, you know what the beauty of it was, Tug, is that, you know, we come from a time, you know, like I said, I was born in 82. And, you know, this is the era, you know, what I feel is the last era where kids got whooped in public, right? Yep. And the reason why that was important is because nothing festered. Do you remember that? Like you didn't hear, like if you and I had a beef, right? And we're 8, 9 years old, we're mad about something. Like you remember this, kids would argue and over something like, who's the better X-Man, right? Mm-hmm. Is it Cyclops or Wolverine? And kids would fight over it, right? Like literally, because they don't know how to talk it out. They would get into a fisticuffs. After the fight, Tug, how long before they were best friends again?
Yeah, I mean, you'd fix it right after it, man.
Right after,
you're right.
Get off me! And then what happens? Right? Like, you're on my arm. Oh, fucking ass.
Well, even
told you Cyclops is better.
Kicked my ass yesterday. Come over for a sleepover.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember, you know, the old classic story of bully becomes friend, you know, or whatever. And I mean, that's real. You know, you may start out as I've known a few jackasses that I hated at first. You know, we got in a fight or something, and afterwards, man, we became friends, and I'm still friends with those people.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't go the other way around with girls, though. You notice that females don't have a female bully, and then they turn around. She started off being abusive, but now she's my bestie. Never. Ever.
No. Nowadays, though, kids are arguing over which one looks better in a dress.
These fucking kids.
Well, the female circles are man. Phew, I'm glad that I don't have to travel in female circles. They're some type of monsters most of the time.
It's awful.
Yep.
Well, Tug, we got to ask, how did you get the name Tug, that umbrella guy?
It's so random, man. I used to have I can't even remember. I used to have another name, and I can't even remember what it was. But I used to do product reviews sometimes, and you could see my hands in them, and I have an umbrella symbol on my hand. And this guy, he would always pop up all the time. And one time he said, "Oh fuck, there's that umbrella guy again." And I thought, fuck this
yeah,
guy,
it's stuck.
Man. Yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy is I would you know, I'm always over at Rackett's house, and his youngest, who's cute as a button, she went through a phase where the only movie she wanted to watch was The Greatest Showman, right? And I sit there and I'm watching it with her, and she would, you know, she's, you know, singing along the songs, and it was funny because there's a point in the movie where Hugh Jackman's character is trying to convince a critic, right? A critic to, like, you know, come and see the show. You know, it's all about entertainment. And the guy says, like, you know, it's a circus. You know, that was the review in the paper, right? And so when he winds up branding his what would be called a freak show by those standards, right? And he's called it the Circus. And he's like, thanks for the name, right? Because sometimes you hear something and it just sticks, right? You hear the word circus, you're like, you know what? Tug, this is a circus, isn't it?
This all definitely is a circus. All of this stuff too. It's also a show. I mean, you're always putting on a show. Always. You're branded, people see you. It's such a strange world. You were talking about growing up, being born in 82. We didn't have any of this shit. Like there was nothing like it. This is
nothing.
No, it's
new
true.
world, man.
In the online world, you have to be always on.
Yep.
Right? Now, Drexel, you're lucky because you offline is you online. You're the same person.
Yep.
But the fakers, right? Like these woke YouTubers, like Destiny,
who always get exposed. Always.
Right? They have to be on 24/7, and it's a struggle because that's not who they actually are.
Well, that makes it easier, I believe, Tug, to just to have everything in your life be normalized, right? Because when someone says, "Yo, Tug, what are you doing?" Well, you're just like living your life. You're like, oh, I just happen to hop on YouTube. Same with Nick, right? You just hop on YouTube and you do your show about whatever content you want to talk about. And then you hop off and you're back to being, regular life, right? But imagine you hopped on YouTube and you're basically being the opposite of what you are. We just saw that. Shout out to Anna, that Star Wars girl, and other YouTubers for exposing the fraud that's playing Faye Valentine, right?
Yep.
She wanted to run her mouth about the male gaze. You saw the picture she posted, right? What do you have to say about that?
Not surprised at all is what I say about it. Not fucking surprised at all.
And the reason why it's such a big deal to me, Tug, is that I tell guys, right? There are guys out there saying, I talk to guys of all walks of life, and a lot of these guys are still out here, trying to, they're trying to simp to some degree, right? Well, Drex, I want a girlfriend. I want to, how do I get laid? Tom Likas got huge for that, right? The Likas 101, right? In the early 2000s on the West Coast, just telling dudes, yo, man, this is what you got to do to get laid. Because what was happening is guys, and you're starting to see this, right? The indoctrination, what's ended up happening is that you have this whole, we're about like the second to third generation of bitch-made simps raised by single moms. And what they've been taught, what they've been indoctrinated into is not working, right? They're like, well, I'm being a nice guy and I'm holding out chairs for her and opening doors. Why am I not getting the peace leave? Why does she keep going with this asshole? It's like,
dude, I had my first experience with the. It doesn't really matter about nicety or anything. When I was I was teaching over at one of our universities in Tennessee, and I held the door. I was holding the door actually for this guy, an older professor, but one of these blue hairs comes up behind him, and I'm just holding the door for this person too. Well, they stop, they set their books down, and they start just bitching and moaning about all of my toxic masculinity, and how dare I do that? So. They still wanted to walk through the door, so I let the door close, of course. I let it close in their face, and then they sat there, and they bitched and moaned while I was walking away about, what kind of monster I was then.
It's beautiful because it goes back to what you just said earlier, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. This is the reason why I say, Charles Barkley made this comment years ago where he said, just be who you are because people are going to, X amount of, 50% of people are going to love you, 50% of people are going to hate you for, what you are, what you present yourself to be, right? So just be who you are. If you're a jerk, just be a jerk because guess what? X amount of people are going to like that, right? Like Donald Trump had a huge following, right? And when people look at his following, they say, well, why does he get such a following? He's such a jerk. It's like, dude, at least he can just be who he is, and the results come. They kind of tend to come, and that is what it is, right? Like no one sits around saying, Donald, you really should be a lot nicer because then it'll increase your polling numbers. No,
Rex. For jerks get stuff done, right? That was the whole. The only thing that can fuck an asshole is a dick, right?
Yep.
And pussies can't fuck assholes. Run Team America. Sorry. If anyone's ever run a company or had employees, you have to yell at them because nobody gets anything done. They're lazy as shit.
I agree.
And then they always come out and they're like, look at anyone who's ever built a company. They'll call that guy, oh, he's a mean boss. He's an asshole, right? Steve Jobs.
Yep.
After he died, everyone's like, oh, he was a terrible boss. He was such an asshole. Yeah, because all of you fucks are lazy and never get your job done.
Yeah, well, here's what people really want. What people really want is a title, a job, lots of money from the job, and to do absolutely nothing, right? They literally want to just show up and get paid to literally do nothing. They're like, oh man, that was a great day. But if you do nothing and get nothing accomplished, guess what? Your company goes under. And then they go, oh my God, it sucked, but man, we had a great boss, man. He just let us do whatever we want. It was a great work environment. It was so positive. Yeah, but now you're unemployed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Now you're unemployed. Government benefits in a nutshell. Even worse, Koopa, government workers in a nutshell.
Oh, they're awful. They're
because
the
the union covers for them, right?
Of course it does.
That's why teachers are so fucking useless. Go ahead, Tug.
No, I'm just thinking, what passes as a bad guy these days anyway? Like when I started out covering things on YouTube, all I did was I watched comic pros. You know, I watched them be everything but not professional, and I would talk about the numbers. Like, hey, you know, this is how business works. This is what you're doing, and it's not working. Why not be a professional? And apparently, that makes you some kind of bad guy in this current year. And it took a long time for me to understand it. Luckily, I was being myself just because, I mean, hell, I'm just talking about numbers and shit like that. But, you know, luckily I went in it with that and understood that it doesn't matter. That 50%, they're always going to hate you simply because you take a stand on anything. It doesn't matter how innocuous that stand is. You take a stand. You have the stones to actually stand up and to say anything whatsoever. I mean, it's astounding nowadays. Like, having the most milquetoast fucking ideas is somehow counterculture.
Absolutely.
Whatever happened to the days where you could go, you as the boss could go into work, right, and your employee missed a deadline again, and you just walk up and say, you are a fucking...
Those days are long gone. You can't do that in the military anymore. That's over. No more Full Metal Jacket. Gone.
Hey, Drex, you want to know why Afghanistan was such a fucking disaster? Because look at the last Army ad. Look at the recruitment ad for the Army.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was stunning and brave.
Well,
I mean,
I want someone go and get both those pictures, right? The helicopter leaving the embassy in Afghanistan, and then the picture of that woke woman. Put them side by side and say, "Oh, explained everything in 20 years."
You know, at one time, I'd hoped it was just a fad and it would go away. But I think what this becomes is if nothing else, it becomes a cultural stepping stone that leads to something worse. What's worse? I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, I think you'll see businesses weed themselves out. You'll still have people that'll stand, but again, we're seeing the entire landscape change. I feel like we're dinosaurs out here waiting for. We haven't realized the meteorite hit sometimes.
Yeah, well, you know what? One of the issues that I have with people is this lack of a backbone. Because I think I've talked about this on my show before, where I said there's a certain point I was a senior in high school, and it's the first time I ever heard this word. I was interviewed for the school paper, and they said, we came to you because we hear from other people in the school that, Drex, you're extremely opinionated. So what the hell does that mean? She's like, well, yeah, no, you have these strong opinions. I was like, I didn't view what was considered strong opinions or anything. I just went like this. If you asked me a question, I gave you an answer, right? I didn't view that as opinionated. If someone said, hey, why do you believe this? How is that, being so-called opinionated? But you know what it is? You're not going with the norm, right? Like if someone says, hey, Drex, are men and women equal? No. Oh my God. And yet you show them 5 million examples of how men and women are not equal, right? And they're kind of like sitting there like nodding their head like, yeah, you do have a point there. Oh shit, huh? But we can't acknowledge that, right? Like there was that Bear Grylls show where they were stuck out in the wilderness. You heard about that, right? It was literally yeeted off of the internet because it showed that women weren't stunning and brave and strong and independent, right?
Why can't we be different? I mean, it's such a strange world. Like I said, I feel like a stranger in a strange land or something. Like I woke up and this stuff. It may have seemed like it came on gradually. Like if you look at things, you could see the signs, but man, it hit like a tidal wave in the last few years. The catalyst, of course, was politics, but damn, I mean, the societal ramifications of that. Woo, man.
Well, it's funny you say that. A lot of the wokeness, and I don't know if I want to say you and Flash talked about this briefly. I know Clownfish TV did, where they were like, yo, a lot of these, executives and actors and stuff, they don't actually believe what they're saying, right?
Mhm.
They're just basically, if you want to keep your job, you have to sit there and preach the religion of woke, right? Because if you ask these people, no camera rolling, recorder off, what they believe about X, Y, Z, what they believe about Desmond is amazing, they'll tell you the God honest truth, right? But like, Drex, I don't want to get canceled, right? I don't want to get canceled. But that's why they're part of the problem, because they're complicit in it. You see what I'm saying?
I always went, like Mark Wade, for example, Comic Pro, been around forever. You know what? A name a lot of people know. Okay, well, that guy, he wakes up every day, looks in the mirror, and these people scream about straight white men. Well, guess what? He checks every box. What does he have to do to stay around? What does he have to do to stay relevant? Because it's not about talent anymore. It's not about making money in business anymore. It's about this other thing, this cancer. Normally, at one time we would have. It's amazing because at one time we would have cut out the cancer and we would have kept the body clean. But now all we do is we cut out the cancer and we throw away its host. I mean, that's all we see in society and business. I mean, it seems like a world gone insane some days.
Well, but Tug, I think all of this is overall, it's a good thing. Woke is a good thing, because what woke is doing is that it's proving, it's testing your mettle, right? Your testicular fortitude. Are you going to really stand up, right? Are you going to go on record? I will. I show my face, right? I'm on Nick's stream. People know who I am. I'm always like this, right? And I've heard people say, even including my mom, like, you shouldn't say those things online. What, you want me to lie? You want me to go online and be a fraud? Right? No. If you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer. That is online, offline, any other line, right? So the reason why I bring that up is because there's an accountability, right? We have a responsibility. And one of the problems I have is the fandom, right? Across media, video games, comics. Tug, what do you believe is the fandom's role in the products that the mainstream puts out?
Well, they love that word fandom. I don't even like that word. I don't like that word, and I don't like the word consumer. I use it sometimes just because it's drilled into us so often.
Yep.
But really, what is the role of the customer? The customer keeps it afloat, and that's all fandom is. Fandom, they are the people who go online and complain about this stuff, the people that they villainize. They are the alpha consumers. They're the people that care enough to go to war for this stuff, and if without them, you don't have a product anymore.
Agreed. And yet, don't you find it so bizarre that they bash the very people who are going to support their company, right? Like, you know what, Tug, you're toxic, you're horrible. It's like, you do know that this person doesn't buy your stuff, you go out of business, right? And then when they actually do, like, you're seeing Vice having more layoffs, they start blaming the people, right? Well, it's gotten so ridiculous.
Well, it's astounding when you look at it, because what makes you a toxic fandom? It's not necessarily. There are some nasty people out there. I mean, we can all be honest about it. Most of them are the ones yelling about toxic fandom. Let's being honest about that too. But there are a few nasty individuals out there that, I don't want anything to do with. But tar and feathering an entire fandom, going after your entire consumer base. We know how that's going to come out, and I couldn't compute that for the longest time. Again, I stuck with coverage, just hammering that point about professional. I still hammer professionalism, numbers, because I've worked in a professional setting. I still work in a professional setting. I don't get it. I know that I also don't get workplaces that allow their quote unquote professionals to attack the customer. I don't understand that at all. Still cannot understand it at all.
Yeah, and they do it so consistently, right? Like it's always bashing them, and it's like, so I want you to imagine, Tug, you did like a fan poll, right? And your subscribers, your fans, they say, hey, we would really like to see this. And you jotted down every single thing that they said they wanted to see in your next comic, right? You said, great, thanks for the input, guys. And then you literally do the exact opposite, right? Like, you ask them, like, what did you like and dislike? Well, if there was a huge number of your fans say, hey, we didn't like this type of character or this type of storyline. And then you put out a comic that basically is everything they hate and none of what they love, right? And then you go like this, buy my comic, you stupid man babies. Aren't they going to be like, wait, bro, like, wait, how did you do the opposite, right? Like, and that's what's happening with, games like Saints Row reboot, right? They're going to come out with that. You know that's going to fail.
Oh, I've seen that, man.
You know?
Oh, that's beautiful. I can't help see my newest entertainment since they've taken away a lot of things that I love. Again, I love comic books, certain types of movies. Since they've basically poisoned that, and I don't even if it returned to goodness and normalcy, it's poison for me. I will never look at those products the same. My new escapism is laughing at the next broken product. That's actually what YouTube is. So, when you talk about coverage, I think that's my new escapism. I think a lot of us do that. We've turned them into our next movie, or our next project.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because there's this natural ebb and flow of how things work. And one of the things I'm starting to see more and more is you're starting to see not only pushback, right? But, obviously, guys like you, myself, Rakeda, Flash, all those people that are out here saying like, yo, yeah, we're not supporting this, right? Like we're not going with this woke garbage. One of the things I find very telling, and Clownfish has talked about this, you're starting to see media outlets try to grift now, right? They're like, we went all in on The Last Jedi to, and then we bashed the fans. And now they're starting to see like, oh shit. So now have you noticed there are things that are woke products, right? There was that god awful movie with was Octavia Spencer and Melissa McCarthy, where it was terrible, right? Female superheroes. And what ends up, I think, was it like Thunder Force? It was something garbage, right? The movie comes out, bombs. It's considered like one of the worst movies ever, right? By critics and fans. And then something weird started happening. Critics are starting to basically be like, yo, this is terrible. Whereas, before, as long as it checked the boxes, it was, this is bravo. This is Oscar material. And now they're like, yeah, maybe The Last Jedi was hot garbage, right? Because they're starting to see, bashing people over it. Because remember, they got the clicks, right? They got the clicks for bashing the fandom, for not liking The Last Jedi, things like that, right? The woke garbage. And then what happened? Eventually the clicks started dying because people stopped caring. Like that's what He-Man became, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I've seen you bash He-Man on your channel.
We did. We got the clicks up for that because yeah, I love it. I love the fact that these folks, they've made us money and they've made us trusted in a lot of ways because something fascinating happened along the way. Customers picked up microphones and started talking, and they became like with comic books. Hey, we started making our own products. We were like, screw this, we're going to do our own thing. I do have a distrust for a perhaps almost unhealthy sometimes distrust for any media outlet, any comic pro, any of these people, because so many of them, I always wonder, like when I hear one speaking up, hey, they're trying to call out stuff. Where were you a couple of years ago? What exactly were you doing?
Yep. Well, and how many times have people been exposed, right? When someone shows like an old video or an old article where they're like, you were full woke, right? And, in the manosphere, we call women who do that chameleons, right? Where you were a feminazi for all these years, right? You were I'm patriarchy and all that stuff, right? And that girl, that's what she was saying at 23, right? All of a sudden, Tug, she hits the wall. And then the girl goes and starts watching some red pill videos. And then she tries to grift and, no, I'm a conservative woman. Feminism is bad. Wait a minute. Where did you come from? Right? And then you see their old videos and posts. And, they try to put that stuff down, right? They try to tear it down because they're like, I don't want people knowing I used to be one of the woke idiots, right? I was a libtard. And it goes back to what you just said, right? We aren't buying it, right? We just ain't buying it no more because you need credentials.
There's a lot of thirsty dudes in that too. That's one thing we need to get rid of and call out in every fandom. We were talking about before, talking about simps. We need to call them out at everything because let's really be honest, they are everywhere. They've inundated every one of our communities. I'm not saying, again, I'm married. I have 2 daughters. I want them to be part of I want them to love and appreciate this stuff. I just want them to be out there and have fun. But dude, these fakes, man, we gotta burn them out of our communities. Otherwise, we're just going to return to zero.
Well, it's getting to that point, and I just did a show with Raging Golden Eagle, and he brought up this point that I think is so telling. He said it's getting to a point where he was talking to one of his black friends, right? And he said, I only want to see games with a cis white male, blonde hair, blue eyed protagonist, right? And Doug, here's what's funny. Eagle and I were talking about that. This is the natural consequence to woke, right? So now what's going to happen going forward is if you see somebody, right, a woman, a person of color, blah, 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 the audience is going to just assume it's woke, right? They're like, oh, here we go. It's going to be woke. Whereas before, you just, like, Tug, do you remember there was a time when you just took everything at face value, right? Like, you just let the game be the game. Whoever you're like, do you ever remember a game called Mirror's Edge? It was a first-person, like, parkour game. Cool game. It was like a really cool concept. Came out during the PS3 era, right?
Right off the bat. Mm.
And no one cared that your protagonist was a female, right?
Sure. Metroid, come on, man.
Metroid, Samus Aran, right? No one cared, right?
Tomb Raider.
Well, actually, everybody loved that idea. I mean, that was one of the biggest twists. You're like, holy crap, that's awesome. That's the great.
There was an article written about that? There was an article written about how male fans reacted to Samus, find out Samus was a female, right? And I saw the tagline. I never read the article, but I just remember thinking, like, hopefully they don't lie about it, because I remember when that happened, when we all, you could put in the Justin Bailey code, and that was when you saw Zero Suit Samus, right?
Right.
And Tug, you remember those days in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Not one person had a problem with it.
No,
we all thought it was cool. Like we actually liked that. We're like, oh my God, like my space dude is a chick? Oh, that's cool.
Dude, nerds, man. I mean, we call ourselves whatever we want. I call us nerds, or whatever. But we want everyone to love and be part of what we love, and having females in that. You do want females in. Again, you don't want them in for the wrong reason. You want them in because they like it, they enjoy it, man. I mean, I think these communities are probably the most accepting of females or anything really different, like especially now in this newer setup. I don't know, unless I hear your voice. Even then, I have to assume certain things about it. But unless I see it, I mean, who the hell are whatever your screen name is in this this? Yeah, I mean, who are? I don't know. I like that. I like the anonymity to it. I've always liked that portion, and I like the passion that comes through, and like I said, in our community.
Well, one of the things that I remember very vividly, if you can recall this, was, do you remember there were actually guys back in the day who wanted to see more girls in games? Do you remember that? Like not just with fans, but like also characters, right? Like, so that's a great irony. A lot of, where you saw this first? I don't know if you saw it when I did. It was fighting games, right? Is that like no fighting game would be complete without female characters, right? Like guys didn't want to just have a bunch of dudes fighting. We remember, and what was one of the things that we always acknowledge in fighting games, right? Because even though obviously it's fiction, right? We still kept a couple of real world things, and one of the most real world things is that the female characters were always faster, right? Always. Yep. If you had a female character, that meant that she was lighter, so which means she got killed earlier, but she had speed, right? She had speed and agility, right? So when you look at games like Mortal Kombat, Chun-Li, and Street Fighter, you know what I'm saying? And of course, Cammy came later. And one of the things is, Tug, one of the things that's beautiful about that era was we made sure that the women looked desirable, right?
Yeah.
They're all hot. Like, I've never heard someone say, no, Cammy's not my type. Stop.
Mario, man. Mario, when they added Princess in as a usable and 2 and continued forward.
Oh, was that not the best?
Light, could fly. Yes, weaker, but damn, she flies. I don't have to, aim my jumps exactly.
Yeah.
I always played as her, man.
Dude, you know what's funny is Nick talked about that because my brother plays in any game. I'm not joking. Other than Smash Ultimate, other than Smash Bros. Games, he has never played a game where he plays as anything but the female. Since we were kids. Like, if you give him the option, right? Like, so Streets of Rage comes out. Who do you think he played? Right? You got the chance, right? So he can play as a black male, a white male, or Blaze fielding the white chick, right? Who does he play?
Well, Blaze. I do stuff like that. I mean, I like the agility add-ons. I like being faster in something. You know, the
Yeah.
strength and slow. Man, that sucks sometimes.
Well, it's funny because sometimes there's like this weird projection, right? So like Nick is Nick, right? Every game I've ever played, take a guess who Nick plays in every game. Doesn't matter what genre, whatever. Who do you think he plays every time? What kind of character do you think he plays?
I don't know. What does he
He
play?
plays whoever's the biggest guy,
Biggest guy,
right?
yeah.
The biggest, most muscle bound dude. So like if he's playing,
So he's Barrett.
Yeah. So Nick is gonna. So when we play like I remember we were playing Mario Tennis back in the day, right? So Nick doesn't even acknowledge Mario, Luigi, Toadstool, Yoshi. No. They're too small. He's like, I want big guys. I use it. Nick goes, power. So he immediately picks, Bowser, Donkey Kong. If you play Smash Bros, right? He hops on, he gets DK, he wants to play as Ganon. He always goes for these huge, big dudes, right? And it kind of makes sense. Some guys tend to go with whatever the opposite of what they are, right? And it used to never be a problem, Tug. No one. It was all about, hey, Tug, yo, man, you want to come over? We're having a good time playing games, and it was never an issue. No one. Tug, do you remember anyone even talking about like anything that was woke back in the day ever?
Oh man, none of this. No, people would have laughed at you. Actually, I take that back. I do remember it, but it came up in skits. Like, hey, did you see that new comedy skit where they laughed about a world that looks just like ours?
It's crazy because I can remember, when guys were hooking up multiple TVs to play Halo or to play GoldenEye, to play Smash, to play Mario Party. No one ever ran their mouth about my representation. No one cared, right?
Yep.
And if something looked ridiculous, right? If we were looking at something that was ridiculous, then it is like we just took it at face value. Like, yep, this is so ridiculous, man. It's funny. Did we get a laugh out of it, right? Did it achieve its goal, right? And that's what Tropic Thunder was, right? Did the movie achieve its goal of making you laugh? Yeah, dude, Tropic Thunder was funny, right? If you're a white girl, White Chicks was funny to you. It's probably hilarious to you. You see what I'm saying? Nobody cared. Dave Chappelle went in whiteface. Remember that on his show?
Yep.
He had the whiteface, and no one cared, though. You see what I'm saying?
That's why it's so easy to go back and cancel people, because we came from a time when no one cared, and they shouldn't. I mean, come on, that is the epitome of comedy. It's supposed to be irreverent. It's supposed to make fun of tragedy. It's supposed to make fun of any type of societal norm. Hell, I never even really thought about, again, if somebody, you knew the connotation that someone was utilizing. I come from the U.S. South. I know when a bunch of motherfuckers are being racist. You can tell. We've had groups here. We've done our best to drive them out. We know that. But at the same time, when people are just messing around, having fun, like you say, somebody puts on whiteface, I'm gonna get upset about that, or a lawyer puts on blackface. No, I don't.
Right? Not mentioning any names. Well, Tug, it's funny you say that, right? Because I've spent lots of time in the South, right? And one of the things I remember fondly about the South is that, like, whatever people were, they would just say that out front, right? Like, if they did have a problem with you, they would let you know they had a problem with you. Whereas,
Sure.
these Northerners, it's always this passive aggressive thing. That's not really my personality. I'm very in your face. And one of the things I find great, though, is that comedy and gaming, like hobbies and stuff, tends to bring people together, right? Like, and that's why, whether it be sports, whether it be, like I said, gaming. How many times have you seen food bring people together, right? People who are very, there's a lot of tension, right? But yet, like, there's like a few things that people are like, look, whatever issues we have, we leave that at the door because we're here to eat, right?
I see a triple Belgian chocolate cake bring a bunch of fatties together.
Yeah.
In movies, you see, like I think of Breaking Bad, all your badass characters, they'll sit down over food, they'll break bread,
Yep.
Communion, man. You have communion with your bros, man. That's normal. You were talking about too, people saying who they are. Yeah, I always looked at racists like internet vegans. They got to tell you exactly the fuck they are.
Yeah. Oh, God. They're insufferable, man. And there's always been that joke, right? Like, how do you know someone's vegan? They're gonna tell you within 2 seconds of meeting you, right?
Oh yeah. Oh God.
My name's Kerry. I'm a vegan. It's like, yeah, cool, great, got it. Yep, I don't care. Just like women when they get their degree, and you see this with black women. they will hold that degree like this huge badge of honor. Nobody cares, right?
Oh man, I know a guy who always introduced himself and then followed that up with "and I'm bi." It's like, "Hello, my name's
Jesus,
so and
really?
so, and I'm bi."
Okay, let me ask you this, Tim. How awkward did everybody get after he said that?
Oh, really awkward.
Yeah,
Really
because
awkward, right?
you've
Like,
identified
what?
yourself.
Like,
You've said that I am this one singularity, man. I'm nothing else here, and I'm going to make a big deal out of it.
yep. So now it's like, oh, here we go, right? Here we
Dude,
go.
I was trying to explain to my wife one day. She was like, she was asking me about somebody online. She was like, "Hey, how are they doing? Blah 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 is going on in their personal life. I heard. How's that? I don't know. I don't talk to them about that shit. But they're your friends. Well, who cares? We don't as dudes. I don't get into that kind of shit. You just get in, you fuck off, you have fun, and I mean, being a guy used to be escapism into itself. You get with another bunch of dudes, you forgot about everything else. You did whatever. You just had fun. You fucked off. You made fun of each other. Just whatever came naturally.
Well, Tug, being in the South, I was actually talking to one of our guests that just came on not too long ago, our girl Kat, right? And she's actually too young to know about something that was life altering, but I know you would. Tug, do you remember a very particular product called Nancy Cotton Honey Buns? Do you remember those? They came in the red wrapper?
Yes.
Now, Tug, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there have been people who have literally lost their lives over taking someone's Nancy Cotton Honey Bun. And I sent her an article. I mean, it was that good. Like, Tug, do you remember, do you miss walking into a store back in the day and getting that Nancy Cotton Honey Bun?
It's funny. I looked those up, I think about maybe a year or two ago, and I never realized how much of a following they have,
Oh, Tug. To this day, because my mom is from Natchez, Mississippi, right? So I'd spend summers down there. I'd spend summers with my dad's family in Arkansas. So we'd be down there, and back in the day, we're talking 80s and 90s. Everywhere you went, you had Nancy Cotton Honey Buns, right? You saw that red wrapper, and you remember this, Tug. Everybody sells honey buns in the South, right? Well, they sell honey buns all over, right? But you remember, Nancy Cotton was just different, right? Like you walked in and someone's like, "Oh, we got Little Debbie." I don't want Little Debbie. I don't want Hostess. Anything you have to offer, I don't want it. Nancy Cotton Honey Bun. For those of you guys who don't know, I would put a Nancy Cotton Honey Bun against basically anything in life. That's how good they were. Like, I don't know about you, Tug. I would heat it up for just like a quick second in the microwave, right? I just quick nuke it, just a little bit.
I'm looking up some of the statements because I remember looking these up. Somebody wrote, "Never killed anyone, but I would have boxed anyone messing with my Nancy Cotton brand glazed honey buns back during my choppy cotton days."
Yep. It was serious, Tug.
Yeah,
my mom, obviously, my mom and dad introduced me to them, right? We go down, because we're kids in the North. And we never saw them, right? So obviously you go down as a young kid, you're 5, 6 years old, you go down to visit your grandma and you see them. And, to you, it's just, until you eat it the first time, it was just another snack, right? Oh, look, a honey bun. And then someone's like, "Oh no, warm that up in the microwave for 10 seconds. I'm like, "Why?" Like, trust me, because when it's softer and that glazed white icing melts just a little bit, oh, it's going to be so much better. Okay, I'll listen to this person, right? Or, you took a bite, right? Okay, let me try to nuke it. You took one bite, nuked it for 10 seconds like they told you to, and you never looked back. I mean, I would go ahead and body somebody over a Nancy Cotton Honey Bun, man. That's worth serving a 25 to life. It's that bad, man.
I love them, man. I don't know. You made me now. Unfortunately, now I'm gonna have that.
You're making me salivate, Drex. God damn it.
Oh man. Well, Tug, what do you miss? Whether it's about the South, or what do you just miss as you've gotten older and seen some things go the wayside? What do you miss? Like, what are you most nostalgic about?
Just I don't know. You know what I miss the days. It's strange to say what we said here, but I actually miss the days before social media, where we approached everything like more innocently. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know everybody behind, say, certain types of books were assholes, for example. I just enjoyed that kind of stuff. I miss things like that. I also
you didn't know the author of Harry Potter was a TERF?
No, I was looking up different identities today. There's a emoji kin. identity or something like that. It has its own flag, and apparently it's supposed to be people that can express themselves with words. They use emojis, and I thought, yeah, I don't need this in
Oh,
my
that's Ron
life.
Toye.
I missed the years before that.
Yeah, it's something else, right? Like, as you see things change, and I'll tell you one of the biggest changes that I've noticed in my own life. For the most part, when my parents recount their past and they reminisce, the thing that mainly changed was how the culture really was a reflection of the technology in terms of like the basic of how people grew up didn't change as the gap wasn't as huge other than like family sizes were much smaller, right? People weren't having like 13 kids when I was being born, right? But it was mainly technology, right? They're like, oh yeah, we used to have to watch black and white TV, and there was only one TV, and TV used to go off, right? I'm sure you had parents who told you that, right? TV used to literally go off, like it hit 10 or hit midnight, and then that was it. They would play the national anthem, and that was it for TV.
Actually, I remember TV going off. I remember only having 2, 4, 5, and what was Fox 7 or 17 at the time. I remember that shit.
Remember that? Like it would, or you have like a burning fire in the background with the flag waving, and that was it, right? Like, and that was it for TV. And you're like, oh well, I guess TV's off. Whereas we have this thing now where we're all interconnected at all times of day, right? Because someone's streaming right now, someone's gaming right now, someone's there's Sports Center reruns going on right now, right? Like it never ends, like nothing ever stops, right? Everything is always on. We have this always on society, right? On a global scale.
And they call it the 24-hour news cycle, Drex. Now it's more like a 60-second news cycle.
Yeah.
Really. And, the problem with that is that people have developed a 60-second attention span.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Oh, I wanted to bring that up because, Tug, you've, you're the owner of, by all accounts, a successful YouTube channel. But I noticed, like, your video format is the 10-minute shorts.
Sure.
So, have you noticed a difference between, say, longer format videos and shorter format videos? Say 3 years ago. How long have you been on YouTube here?
Oh well, I've been active. I've had a channel for a long time, but I used to be so lazy. I was like, I'm not buying a freaking a cloud or something. I'll just upload something and put it to private, on this channel. It's free storage. Who gives a shit? But I've been using the channel for coverage for about 3 years.
I think it's beautiful. You just get to a point, and especially with the things that are being produced out there. And Tug, we talk about, obviously we have these passion projects that we have, and we have things that we want to talk about on YouTube. And you said, like, giving a mic to the fans, right? These are the people that, didn't really have, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because you have the people who are going to speak out against woke. You're going to have people who speak for woke, right? That's going to happen.
Well, you look at how many people back the anti-woke, I think the question, though, just to hit that real quick before about short versus long form, I've noticed that I pay attention to metrics. Metrics is how all of this works. If you figure out that code, I mean, you're good to go. Well, I've done short form videos on other channels, and it is watch time. Watch time is God in this. And if you have a minute and a half, people will finish your average watch time be 92%. Man, you do like I do. I actually have been going back to 8.5 minutes these days. I've cut it back considerably, and it's still about 55% is what you get, if you do long form.
Well, one of the things that's funny about just the nature of content is it's because we have the ability to walk away and look at something different, right? Like here's the thing. Like I prefer, like let's face it, they all have different purposes, right? Like let's say you're going on like a long trip or something, right? You're driving for a long distance, or let's say you're working like an overnight shift or something, right? That's when people seem to really like those long formats, right? Like, oh, I'm listening to this guy's podcast while I go through my shift at work, right? And whereas the short form may be like, you're just kind of you're out and about, you're doing something real quick, right? You're waiting in line for something to eat, and you hopped on and clicked a video that's a minute long and got the quick take, and then you kept it moving, right? So they all have like their own purpose. Back in the day, Tug, anything that you consumed for the most part, you had to commit to it, right?
Oh yeah.
like, hey, Tug, you want to go see this movie? It was a commitment. there was no skipping. Like, you remember back in the days of VHS, right? Once you popped that mug in and you push play, you had to commit.
Well, and not only that, if you like, say even if you owned the VHS, which it came later, because early on, people don't realize how expensive VHS tapes
Oh
were back in the day.
yeah.
God, man, having that, I mean, you either ended up with one from a place, like, oh, I forgot to return this, which would be terrible, man. I didn't want to get charged $60 for a movie, or somebody accidentally forgot to return it or whatever. But man, otherwise, yeah, you didn't own that many of those. That didn't come till later. But rewinding, if you ended up with one, you didn't rewind and fast forward that often because it would wear it out.
Yep. You remember that? Like, so the reason why I bring that up though, Tug, is because it's also a reflection of our culture at large, right? Because when, like, even paying it forward, right? You remember the little sticker that the rental stores would put on movies? It would say, "Be kind, please rewind." That was everywhere. The reason why I bring it up is because of this. Tug, because we had to commit and because we had to think about that next person, it altered our actions. You see what I'm saying? Because whereas now, someone was like this, "You know what, Tug? I didn't like this for 7 seconds. This is so done to me." And then dudes be like, "Yeah, I'm just going to swipe, bro. I'm just going to swipe." Like, now, if you notice, everything is fast food. Everything is disposable. And people wonder why relationships are terrible. People don't even have real friends anymore, right? People have like online friends and all these groups and stuff. It's because everything became disposable, right? Everything became short term, right? I'm going to look at this. It's short term. Swipe, swipe, swipe. And back then, Tug, everything used to be an event. Do you remember back in the day, this is before cell phones, all that. Everything was an event, right? If you went to the movies with your friends, that was an event, right? Yep. Going to the arcade was an event. You didn't have arcade quality games in your home living room. You had to like get up, have your mom and dad drive you to the mall, and it was an event.
Oh, I love the arcade, man. We grew up pretty poor, so I'd go out there. I do everything I could in the week, cutting lawns, doing whatever to make some money, go to the damn arcade.
Oh man, well, do you remember even when you here's something that a lot of people don't understand. Because now you just push a button to start a game, right? You just hit A button or whatever, start button. Do you remember there was even a sensation when you first got in that with the way that it sounded when the quarter went in the machine, right? Even that gave you a sensation because that meant you were there, right? Like you had arrived.
Yep.
You had been working, or maybe your dad handed you a $5 bill. I mean, that was a most ideal situation, right? A $5. And Tug, do you remember even something as simple as going to the change machine? Do you remember what that felt like? Damn, dollar's not going in. And when you had that $5, and you remember it went, and all the quarters came out, and it was literally like it was like pandemonium, right? Like Chuck E. Cheese birthday parties, Tug. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was our Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It was an event, right? It was like I remember going to that was actually when one of my early days of even knowing Nick was at our man M's birthday party, right? We're over at Circus. It was an event, right? Like you remember the animatronics out there dancing and playing music. You're just like, God, man, like this. It was Tug. It was literally the Super Bowl for kids, right? Parents were miserable, right? Tug, let me ask you this. How do you feel about being on the opposite side of everything that you experienced as a child?
It's strange. I wanted to. It's sad. Sometimes the way things have changed, it's actually kind of sad. I wanted to hand down a lot of this stuff. That's why we started making comic books, man. Because when I was 3, my granddad got me into comic books. Probably to get me to shut up because I love to talk. But he took me out. He set me in front of the spinner rack there, and everything was appropriate then too. You didn't have anything strange in there. Now, recently, my daughter, she started going to comic shops with me. We have a dad-daughter day. I take her out. I like to spend time, you be a good father, spend time with your kids, So we have a dad-daughter day. We go to a comic shop, we get some ice cream, whatever. And We bought some comics, and one of the comic books that really turned me off to the mainstream. I picked up a Batgirl comic. I opened it
Uh-oh.
up and was looking through
Uh-oh.
it. Luckily, I wasn't reading it to her at the time, but it had Batgirl and her friends sitting around, and one of the fans was sad. Said, "Oh, why are you sad?" "Well, I went to the fertilization clinic and they misgendered me, and the doctor didn't even apologize." I was like, "What the fuck
What?
is this?" So be on the other side of it, man. It's it's
Is that
sad.
actually a thing? You're not making that up.
Wow.
No, that is a very real thing. Yeah, I can pull up I
Wow.
actually keep the
God.
clips because that motivated me to make comic books. And I make a comic book. We make one. My daughter, like, I want her to be interested in comics. I mean, they mean a lot to me. The room I'm sitting in, I have just in this room alone, I have I think 12 bookshelves. And they're just full of graphic novels, comic book stuff. And she doesn't like. I mean, she likes some stuff, but there's nothing out there that appealed. So I thought, man, what would be cool? I like detective noir comics. I like horror. She likes horror and stuff, so let's do a little. When she would pop in online, like, you see how Nick's kids are, where they run through. You can't keep your kids away from this stuff.
Nope.
So
Well,
my
they have to know
daughter,
they have to know what you're working on, right? Like they
oh
have
yeah,
to be
yeah.
involved.
so she would pop up, and I needed to give her an avatar. So I gave her Little Umbrella Girl. Okay. Well, we decided, fuck it, let's make a comic book out of that. We could make more money. Doing some doing. No offense to anyone I name, but like, look at the RGE mode. I mean, God, look how much success that has. Big titties, have fun. But no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted my kid to like comics and to have something all ages. So we did that. We made that, and damn, it's been fun and interesting like that. But it does make me sad that we had to go to that point just to enjoy those mediums.
It does. Well, with my daughter, I started seeing life from a different angle because a lot of things that I experienced, right? And I talked to my cousin about this, where all these like weird moments start happening. You get this flood of emotions because you're seeing your kids relive certain things that you lived, right? Like, cause when you're growing up, you don't ever, you don't imagine being, 30, 40, 50 years old. So, you just live in the moment. And these weird things start happening, right? Like, even just a few days ago, I was at Nick's house, and as I'm leaving, I was telling him, I was like, okay, let me go down here and check, make sure my daughter is taking her shower so we can leave, right? We can go hit the road. I go downstairs, Tug, and what just put the biggest smile on my face, right? They're being like uproariously loud downstairs. So when I go down there, I'm thinking like, what the hell are they doing down here? I know she hasn't taken a shower. I go down there. They got the Switch hooked up, and they all got controllers in their hands playing Streets of Rage 4, right? And that brings back memories when I was a kid, right? Playing the old Streets of Rage game. Because you think about it, that was almost 30 years ago, right? Of just walking down. And remember, when we played, it was only 2-player, right? So someone had to wait to play. And just beating up goons, right? Just beating up, random street thugs, and just, hearing them, go, oh, as someone dies and all that. And just seeing, the boss battles and them trying to figure out how to beat the boss and, cover me because, this guy's grabbing me and stuff. And seeing them relive what guys like Nick and I lived through, 30 something years ago. It's like, you can't help but just be like, ah, man, that's great. Like, because there's still some, this tiny little smidgen of hope left, right? Because with everything going woke, and let's face it, Streets of Rage is, the newest one, Streets of Rage 4, is basically an indie game, right? That's not some major, major game from, Activision or anybody like that. And, you see all these moments, even when something as simple as my daughter playing Super Mario Brothers, right? Seeing her play Mario Odyssey. It's just like, wow, here's my kid playing the same, characters that I played back in 1987. It's something else to see, man.
When I bought her first Switch, I bought her a Switch for Christmas, man. Like you said, seeing that same experience, the hit, the feel. I'm not used to that stuff, man. As a guy, especially. I mean, we've talked about this in other shows. As a guy, we only have certain emotional settings,
Yep.
Especially at our ages. That is hammered. Maybe at one time you could have had that, but man, I have regular setting. angry, angrier. You know,
Yep. Annoyed. Yeah. We got that. Well, it's all stoic, right? Like all of the male settings are basically stoicism, right? You're just kind of like you have that face.
yep.
So it's always it's quite shocking, right? It's almost like you catch yourself when you realize that you have like this like nice, like this warm fuzzy feeling, right? You're sitting there seeing something like, oh, look at this. Like even something as simple as like kids jumping on a slip and slide, right? You just gotta have this moment you're like, man. And it takes you back, right? Hearing kids like laughing and playing on a playground to this day brings me back, right? And it's sad, like they're gonna miss out on so much because of all the woke nonsense and the propagandizing.
Well, we talked about fighting there, but you know what? These people, they also bring violence to the table. True violence, not fighting. Fighting, again, you just settled something. There was a little bit of blow here, blow there, it's done. But these days, man, these crazies, I found that adult crazies, and they pass this on to their kids. If you think that they have lines because you yourself have a line, they don't have
Yep.
lines. They never stop. They never consider any type of harm done, anything else. So,
Well, it's very troubling, right? I mean,
yeah.
you see these things, and we were talking about this with our man Manic the Mechanic earlier. Is there's a lot of kids out here growing up. This is their normal because basically normal is all relative, right? It's based on what what you can relate it to, right? If you don't have any reference point or any variable, how would you know, right? You're like, oh, this is normal to me, right? If you grew up in a war zone country, that's your normal, right? A lot of these kids, Tug, they're going through life. They don't have anything to compare it to, right? Other than unless they like watch an old, movie or TV show, right? Like if you ask them, what is, like, what is school supposed to look like and feel like? Tug, how many people do you think if they watched the original Karate Kid would they would just have this like look of something completely out of place, right? Like that would be foreign to them, right? Like just the way that school is taught, the Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? A lot of kids can't fathom school not just being woke trash. Like, why aren't they talking about gender? Why are they talking about actual history?
Never, and not even just. Well, did you ever like? I don't remember having politics just flagrantly inserted from any side. I don't remember.
It was neutral.
Being,
it was pretty neutral,
appropriate when I was being taught.
Yeah, well, I remember even like in civics class, everything. And another thing, you didn't know any of your teachers' political leanings, right?
Sure.
I mean, if you ask somebody, hey, Tug, tell me what way all of your teachers in the past voted, you're like, I wouldn't know, right?
No.
I mean, how would you know that, right? Well, now, I mean, it's just gotten so politicized, and and you're seeing this crossover into so many other arenas, right? Whether it be hiring, firing, dating, like. Tug, one of the things that I find funny is a lot of these, the super, woke leftist chicks in particular, what's ended up happening is they got the exact guys they want, right? The other libtard woke idiots, right? And they don't want them, right? They're like, I don't want this kind of a guy. He repulses me. And then they
So I looked up. We were talking about this article the last time we were on Ricada's. So I had to look it back up, and there was this really, really woke journalist talking about how she would no longer date feminist men, allies, as she was calling them, and she told this story in there where she was going down on a dude, and when she went down on him, the guy stopped her because he was crying, because he felt like it was too degrading. He was degrading her, and he just couldn't take it. I thought, my God. And she made fun of him through it, because of course, he cried in front of her, and you know how that goes over.
That's not going over so well.
But can you imagine that? Like, is that where masculinity has gone to the point that if some woman is consensually, wanting to give you a head, that's a crime.
That's going to induce crying, right? And Tug, now here's the thing. On a collectivist side, right? On a general side, all of this is terrible, right? But on a personal side, I talked about this when we had Cat on. I love this. This is great for guys like me. Tug, it's one of my greatest pleasures in life to go to any woke place because the women are so starved of any man that's remotely masculine.
I'm sure.
Like, Tug, I go out to the West Coast, right? And I'm not joking when I say this. There's virtually no masculinity, right? Virtually none. Like I'm out there, like don't get me wrong, you'll see a guy every now and then who looks like a real man, but for the most part, they're all they got skinny jeans, drinking lattes and stuff, and I'm like, look at this. And so the women are miserable. I don't know if you've ever been to one of these like huge leftist cities like Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Diego. They're
Portland,
miserable.
and I've been to San Fran and Seattle, and yeah.
What did you see?
Oh God, man! I saw like I don't even recognize that culture. I don't. I know if you tried to import that culture into my small town USA would reject it.
Yep.
Although we're getting more of it. I noticed when they had protests. All the looting and burning protests. We actually had 5 people that turned up in the middle of our town square. It was pretty funny, but still, it was kind of alarming that even here in backwood America. we have that pop up too.
It's truly infected everything. Like you said, it definitely is cancer, like literal cancer, because it infects the host, right? Spreads to other cells, and it's just there, right? It's all about control, right? Control. Because Manic told me about the yearbook, right? So he said, "Oh, you got to see these yearbook pictures." Tug, I'm not joking when I say this. If anyone out there has any hope, if they're like, no, Drex, there's got to be hope to save the West, or blah, blah. I'm not joking when I say this. Tug, it's over.
Really?
It's over. I'm not. Look, I saw the yearbook. He said, he even admitted, he goes, now given, I cherry picked, right? Like, but if you were to think about it, if someone said, yo, Tug, the year is, let's say 1996, could you cherry pick yearbook pictures and find it pages, right? Whole pages where you couldn't tell the gender? You would have said, no way, right? That's clearly a guy. That's clearly a girl, right? No, simple as that. Not no mo. It's that bad.
Well, like when I was younger, rebellion was things like tattoos. Maybe people got piercings, stuff like that. I remember there were things that you could also undo. Now people are doing some things that are irreversible, and like we were asking at the beginning, this leads to it's a stepping stone to something else, and it always becomes more extreme. Like how much more extreme can you go?
Oh, there's no limits to the extremity of what's going on. Because I mean, let's face it. Tug, if I were to ask you what was the most extreme thing that you saw, that, in the general, whatever, mainstream, whatever you want to call it, 10 years ago, or let's say 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it's only gotten worse. You see what I'm saying? Well, it hasn't gotten better. So if I would have asked you 20 years ago, you would have said, man, I didn't think it could ever get this bad, right? Like, man, it can't get any worse. And then, of course, 10 years later, it got quite a bit worse. Modern day, it got quite a bit worse.
Everything that was extreme. I mean, you consider some of the extremes are norms now, but also extremes that you don't want. Well, let's take quote unquote maps, for example. That's become like an acceptable thing, like moving toward it, and that's. God,
well, they're gonna get with that. They're probably gonna go for the animals first. The deep state's gonna go for the animals, right? And say that's okay. The last step is the pedo shit. That is literally the last step. Because once you cross that threshold, you are. When I say you're done, you're permanently done. Like you it's irreversible at that point, right? And it's almost there right now. And like I said, anyone out there who doesn't speak out against this, anyone out there who condones any of this, then you're the problem. I hold people accountable. And I always tell people, you have to put your name on it, right?
No quarter either. No quarter. You see, I see people saying, well, these folks, they can't, I say this from a therapeutic standpoint too. I've been there. I've worked as a diagnostician, I'm saying it from that side as well. The people that do this kind of stuff, there's a difference from any other type of client that you would have. These folks, it's like working with a nuclear bomb and hoping it doesn't go off. Other clients, maybe you can swing a client toward a social norm, or maybe, like a schizophrenic, maybe you can teach them how to adapt to society or see things, at least have a little bit more commonality. Those you can, man.
They're
There's
done.
nothing. So there's no
Yeah, there's. I tell people that all the time. I go, dude, if you understand these people, I've talked to people who've been in the corrections thing where COs and all that, and detention center people, and I've done foster care, and I will tell you quick, if someone was going down that route, they cannot be fixed. They're just broken, and the thing is, and like you said, that stuff is starting to creep over into comics, right? Making Robin gay. Now I guess Superman is suddenly gay and all this other nonsense. And I have a question for you. You're talking about, going with your daughter to, daddy-daughter, comics day and stuff. And, what was your favorite comic growing up?
Conan. I grew up on Conan. Hyper masculinity, monsters,
Oh,
magic
nice.
and monsters, dude. And I also
You read
like
the
war
cartoon?
comics. War comics don't exist anymore, but I liked I always loved. Did you ever read Haunted Tank? Did you ever catch any of that?
Never heard of that.
Okay, well, Haunted Tank was awesome because it was a World War II comic book, but it was they had a Sherman tank. It was haunted by the ghost of a Confederate general, and you can't have that. You could not have that comic, and it was a fucking phenomenal war comic. But,
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I mean, think like this though. What would a war comic be in 2021 other than just like literal propaganda, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's literally going to be like the U.S. Army commercial. I grew up with 2 moms, and now look at me. It's like, oh, this garbage.
Well, it's misrepresenting the past too. You would have, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to sit around and complain because World War II wasn't diverse enough, and again, we actually had our race struggles and everything else from that for sure. We had some real problems then. But if we want to sit there and call that out, we can't go in and rewrite it and pretend that didn't exist.
Yep.
I could imagine what they would make. It was just. I think they tried to remake a few war comics, maybe 3 years ago, and they were just. They were heavy-handed preaching, this not just war is bad, but everything that goes along with it. It was terrible. Old war comics, they taught you, war is hell. You don't want that.
Well, and it was bad for everybody. And I think that was the other thing, right? Like it was bad for everybody. Like, on a soldier's psyche and all that. And I think that's one of the things that I love personally when it comes to just any medium. Is I love post-apocalyptic stories, right? Because when you take away government and all that stuff, you get to see who are people really, right? When you really look down into the human condition, I believe that post-apocalyptic literature and movies and all that, it deals with that the best, right? Like whether it be The Walking Dead from Robert Kirkman, you've got obviously the first Last of Us, right? Part 2 never happened. You have all these stories, right? Even you remember it all began with Night of the Living Dead, right? George A. Romero, and it dealt with the human condition. You see what I'm saying? Because I mean, let's face it, Tug. Nobody talks about gender or how about equal pay when there's zombies outside, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, when would you think about how insane that would sound, right? Like, diversity. Dude, there's literally zombies gonna come in here and eat everybody. It doesn't matter if you're man, woman, child, black, white. You're gonna be eaten. And alien invasion movies have always been the same, right? Because like when aliens come to Earth, right, to exterminate mankind, they don't care what color you are. They don't care what you identify as. You're a human. They're gonna exterminate you.
You know what? The great unifier idea is a lie. We just saw that with the beer bug. This was something that people again thought that this was an epidemic. Did people come together? Fuck no.
Nope.
Now some people did. Like we would do things like, it sounds so crazy just looking back to a year ago, but we would do things like if you were out of toilet paper, we would mail people like 6 freaking rolls or whatever, and I mean we mailed.
I actually did that. Funny enough, like I was good. I have dude wipes and toilet paper. I actually, no lie, mailed one of my peeps in California because, as you know, California, it's bad enough because it's California, right? But they have the added problem, especially when the whole bug hit, where they can't. And she's in Northern Cal, right? They can't prosecute crimes under like $950, right?
Oh yeah.
So people literally just stole everything. They literally just walked out and took. So like you,
why wouldn't people? I mean,
why wouldn't they? Right?
Yeah.
So now the PD, they're basically sitting there like, well, we can't do anything, and you can't prevent them from doing, taking the shit out of stores, right? Walgreens is closing and CVS is closing. So she said that she had to literally take it from work, right? And I said, oh, it's that bad. I kid you not. I went over to FedEx. I got like the super Charmin rolls, like the ones that it says like you got 6, but it's basically 36 rolls. And I sent it out, and I was like, oh yeah, and I called the people that I know in California asking if they were good, and everybody else was good, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, because we happen to have when the whole thing hit, you had the people who literally got caught with their pants down, but I was good. And then like once they like restocked, I just went in and bought enough, and I was like, oh yeah, we're good. Like I'm good for a whole year. So what do you need, right? And even that, one of the things that's crazy is that, like, even that was kind of like a weird moment, because let's face it, Tug, doing good things for people, like you said, that's now like the weird thing to do, right?
It is. People question your. It is so bizarre,
isn't it? Though.
Yeah, man.
Tug, why are you doing that?
Put it in our video.
Why'd you do it?
If you pull up a video from that time period, I'd put in, hey, if you're having a problem, hit us up. Like, I can't pay your rent, I can't pay your utilities, but what I can do, I can send you some canned food. I can do something. I'll try to help you out. And yeah, you have people that are like, yeah, that's good, but at the same time, today, for example, so I went out to eat with my daughter. We were talking about this right before this started. I went out to eat with my daughter. There was this older gentleman, and I overheard him talking to, I'm going to assume, his son. I don't know. I didn't want to really interact with him, but this guy was 87 years old. He was a serviceman. He was one of those proud servicemen wearing his hat. And I mean, you could just tell, you could see everything about it etched on this guy. He lived war. He's lived life. So I have my 2 daughters with me. And one of the things that I'm trying to instill in them is just doing good and doing it randomly. There is no other reward for doing good than doing good. So I told them we're going to pay for those people over there. Now, the place we were at, we had to buy a gift card. we couldn't pay because they wouldn't tack it on after the fact. So
yeah, of course,
we bought them a gift card. I walked over. I asked the guy, hey, is this? I heard that it was your birthday, sir. And they said, yeah. I said, okay, well, if it's okay with you, you always ask somebody, is it okay with you? This one's on me. Thank you for your service. I appreciate that. And he said, yeah, sure. And okay, I just left it, and we left, and I posted about that, though. If there are people that have a problem, just do that in the dark, or don't do good deed. What's the motive for this? The motive is to do good.
Tug, I've actually talked about this on a live Q&A before, where I said one of the things that, and I actually talked to Kat about this. I said one of the reasons why I permanently stopped relationships was for this reason, because what I'm not so good at is, it's our 1 month anniversary. I tend to forget things like that, right? Because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't care, right? But although I'm not big on anniversaries, I'll tell you what I am good at. I'm good at random acts of kindness, right? Random. Like, I will literally just on a random day be like, we're doing this. And it'll be like something special, right? Something that you don't do every day. Tug, do you know that I got in trouble in relationships?
That's how I treat, my relationship with my wife. It's I try to enjoy those more than some corporate holiday anyway.
Yeah, don't hit me with the whole what are we doing on Valentine's Day? Yep. Like, do you know what's better than planning something for Valentine's Day? Is she's just had a week of work. She's like, oh, it was just really stressful. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. And she's like, and like I don't want to hear about it. And she'll kind of give you like a weird look, like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to hear about it. Here, I'm taking you to go get a 90-minute massage, right?
Right.
That means a lot more to someone than just sitting there listening to them bitch all day, right? When they get done with that, and they remember that, and they go tell other people, like, oh my God, I got it, my guy got me a 90-minute massage just because some point during this week on a Tuesday, I had complained that I was already ready for the weekend because I was so stressed. You see what I'm saying? Like, just random acts. Like, And when I got questioned about my random acts of kindness, I was kind of like, for it took me a long time to like really understand what was going on, Tug, and I eventually realized it was just projection. If they do something nice for you, it's either to cover up their guilt or it's to it's basically have some kind of equity, right? Like they want to get something from you later on, right? Like I'm doing this nice thing, but this isn't for free. You see what I'm saying? And I just wasn't built like that.
We spend so much time, echoing and amplifying the social ills that we see. Like for me on Twitter, like where I posted this random thing. Okay, I got 24,000 people following on there. Maybe that'll inspire somebody to do kindness. I could sit around all day and bitch about a movie that I never want to see, or I could cover yet another false accusation. God, these days there's so many of those. Or maybe we could talk about something good for like 12 seconds.
Right? I mean, I miss these days, right? Like, the South is gonna eventually, they're gonna fall. You guys are gonna collapse under the same weight as everybody else because, as you know, Tug, a lot of the woke libtards are gonna move to where you are because why?
I mean, they're driving, and what sucks about this kind of shit?
Driving up prices.
Yeah, they're driving.
Yep.
I mean, we are some of the most impoverished. This little town that I live in. After Clinton sent all of our jobs abroad, with NAFTA, it shut down the one factory this place fed on. So even in this tiny town, we have a lower income area, and it's drastically lower income. In that, you have K through 12. Just alone, you have over 1,000 children that are living in just abject poverty. And yeah, we have these rich Northerners. They're coming from places like New York. They're bringing in money. God, the stuff they do too. There's this beautiful tract of land where my mom used to live. It was beautiful. It's you could go outside, look right across. There was a little road there, and I mean, there's a mountain range. It's beautiful. These people went over and they bought a piece of land over there, and they built a flamingo pink house right there.
Oh no!
I was like, oh my God. And it was crazy. I went out there and you could tell these people are the proverbial fish out of water. This is in the middle of, a wolf may run off, or a coyote or something may run off with your kids area. So I was watching them let their kids play out by this stream. And I walked over, I was watching them splash around, and they were attracting snakes. They were literally attracting them. So I went over and I noticed their water moccasin was creeping up on their kids. So, I'll catch them. I'm not afraid. I've grown up around them. So anyway, I caught it. I threw it out of the way. And I told these people, you got to be careful out here. And they were the rudest pieces of shit I've ever met. Yeah, I just said
that was the most Southern thing I've ever heard, Tug. Oh, I just grabbed the water moccasin and just flung it aside.
Yeah, it's normal down there. I mean, like it's like Tug in rural Arkansas, rural Mississippi. When you go in the woods, you listen for snakes, right? Like you have a natural hold up.
You smell them.
Right.
They smell like cantaloupe. You can actually smell them. And it's the strangest.
Yeah, it's like that in Australia too, right? They'll just be like, "Oh yeah, there was a death adder on my porch the other day. I just kind of punted it aside."
Again, she used to live here. She doesn't live there anymore. They had this little area that had like little cave entrances. Tennessee's like that, limestone everywhere. So of course you have caves everywhere. Well, they had snakes that would take over some of these. And the weirdest, I was walking out by our house one day. I had it's so rural. You carry a gun. Like I'll carry a pistol and I'll carry a rifle. I always carry both. And I noticed a rattlesnake. I heard that. So I saw a head pop up. Bam! Shot that fucker, right off the bat, because I'm not going to mess around with a rattlesnake, not up by my mom's house. Well, right after that, I hear it again. Another head pops up. I thought, two-headed snake, what the fuck is this? Now there are two snakes getting busy over there in the bushes. Never seen that happen before. I ended up killing those. That's some deep out in the woods shit right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing we have to worry about deep out in the woods out in Canada is a grizzly bear or a wolf.
Yeah, we get wolves out here. We
get bears every now. We've had
not too often out here.
Three. So we don't have them often, but we've had 3 that have come out of the mountain ranges.
Oh, they're out there.
What happens if like a bear meets a snake? Does the bear just like, oh shit, run away? Or do bears eat snakes?
I don't know. You know, I have my granddad told me this story where he had a poison snake meet a non-poisonous snake. He was watching it. He said it was the strangest thing. Um, there was some kind of plant there. He said he was watching. It was a black racer versus a rattlesnake, and that black racer would go around hit. He'd get hit. You know, of course, that should be the end. Well, run over, take a bite out of this plant, go back to the fight. Well, my granddad was curious about what that plant was, and I forget what he told me. I wrote it down somewhere, but he pulled it out of the ground to see what it was, and that black racer ran around him and flopped over dead. You know, and I was like, "Damn, that's some strange." Like I said, I'm in the middle of the rural areas, man. And even here we have woke intrusions.
Oh, Tug, we did have a random question for you. Did you ever figure out who busted your mailbox?
We did not. We put up a mail, and here's the crazy thing. You know, it never. I didn't even post the worst pictures. Like that was the thing too. Like my wife, you know, we posted. So I just mentioned what the fuck went on. You know, we lived out again. That's where my mom lived at one time. This is family property. You know, a lot of people that have never been out in the middle of again, deep south, they don't understand like a road like that. You either know everybody on it or you know, there's family or relations all through there. Well, my mom used to live at this place. It was my grandfather's home, but you know, I mean, somebody had always lived there, never had any problems. You get these crazies, they dox me, and right after that, we got threats. You know, hey, shut the fuck up or else. Right after that, bam, you know, taken down, and of course. How do you prove who does it? Now, I do know there's a live stream of people bragging about coming to our small town and trying to weaponize the police. You know, I play a clip.
Wow.
In StreamYards. I've got a clip that I like to make fun of these people with. This guy's saying things like, I talk to your mayor, you know, and I mean, it's
Wait, does that count as a Karen? I want to speak to your mayor.
Well, this guy, you know, this one guy that was stalking, I mean, I legitimately was afraid we might, you know, these people think they instill fear. My thing is, I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want that on me. And I'm armed better than our sheriff's department down here. So, yeah, they're not going to come to my house and cause problems. They're going to come to my house and they're going to get hurt. And I don't want that on me. So
yeah, it kind of ruins your day, right? It's like, man, I had all this stuff planned for today, and now I got to put this body in the cornfield.
Well, it was funny. They were calling the police, telling them that the house they thought I lived at, which was again my granddad's place. They for some reason they thought that I lived at this one house for 16 years. I was like, dude, you know, you people can't even. Yeah, I don't know where you got your information, but you know, it also says I lived at all these other houses too because you posted that. I mean, they posted all this stuff. Well, they kept calling the police saying there were bodies being dropped there, and my granddad, he's old and he's crazy, you know. So I was afraid they would send the police out there and he would get in a shootout with them or something. You know, and
wouldn't that be the most awesome thing, though? It's like granddad has lived a long and bountiful life, and that's the way he goes out. Fucking tactical team had to go in there.
He tells stories about how when back in the day, like if people came out to try to cut off utilities or something, you'd shoot them off the pole. You give them a couple of warning shots, but yeah, they didn't come out there to cut off utilities. They didn't come out there to do shit. They get paid when they got paid, and if people had problems with it, it didn't matter if they came up there. They better come up there with the armed forces because it's not going to work out very well.
Yeah, just don't pull a boogie and do some air firing towards schools.
Oh no, dude. I don't believe in that. I'm a responsible gun owner. I've owned firearms my entire life, and I know when you pull that out, you don't give warning shots.
No. If you're going to make the decision to pull the trigger, it better be center mass.
Well, and you know, if I did that too, it would probably be a canister-fed shotgun or something because I'd take it very seriously. Probably, unless you caught me outside, like going somewhere. Yeah, if I were going to come to the door, I wouldn't come to the door with, you know, pew pew. No, none of that. You know.
Do you live beside like FPS Russia or something?
Actually, I live close to some like-minded neighbors now. We used to live out in the middle of nothing. Now we recently, thankfully, with all of the with the comic book stuff and everything else. One of the beautiful things about this, and I think the woke weirdos for it, is they've helped us upgrade our lives. Because this, again, I live in an area where you can live on minimum wage. So, I have a regular job, I keep it, but also adding this other stuff, it's allowed me to put money back for my kids. It's allowed me to, go out, pick up a house that I never would have been able to before. So, thank the woke weirdos. They may be destroying society, but they definitely upgraded our lives.
Right?
Well, that's the TFM school of thought, right? Just buy your compound and dig in for the apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, it's we we picked up I wanted a place where I could, do something like this and not have a lot of interruptions. So we found a house. It's about 4,300 square feet, I think, acreage. I mean, it's pretty nice. And again,
wow. That's
but out here, something like that. That's one thing. That's why we attract people from New York and these other places, because out here, a $250,000 home would be like a $6 million home to these people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've told people that because, just the nature of relativity. When I've had people that say like, you need X amount of money to retire or blah, 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 blah. And I said, look, man, it all depends on where you live. I was in Colombia. You can go to DR. I actually, Tug, I showed the guys in my Discord what a very, very, very nice place in Las Terrenas, DR costs, right? You're not far from the beach, right? Like the beach is within walking distance. It's $250 a month, right? $250 USD. Mm-hmm. So if you're working remotely, or let's say you're a retired military vet, right? You have a pension. I mean, you're literally living like a king, right? You're right next to the beach. It's got water included, electricity included, internet is included, right? Heat's included.
Yeah, but it's too hot.
Oh. DR, look, your food is going to be good. You're going to get clean food. What ends up happening, Tug, is that people get so hyper focused on like their one little part of the world. Have you kind of noticed that, where people are like, but this is all there is? It's like, no, there's so much more to the world out there, right? If you just travel and talk to other people.
The one downside to that, though, is like I'm moved. I've moved all over. My father was in the military, so we lived in Germany, other places, but I grew up around the South, and man, like moving out of town, I miss it. I like this. We don't have natural disasters. We have nice landscaping. We have a certain type of culture. The culture is, by and large, is pretty laid back. I particularly like where I'm at now, because that woke shit, it hasn't infiltrated a lot of what we do. I go out where my granddad lives, and I fuck off with his neighbors. I go out there in the morning sometimes and help. We have 3 farmers out there. There's an old black gentleman and 2. I think there's a Native American dude that owns a farm out there. I think that's what he is. And there's an old cadre white guy, and I help them patch their fences sometimes and do shit like that. And you know what? Like everybody likes each other. They get along.
Yeah, the media the media in particular paints this picture, right? That like race relations are so horrible. It's blah 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 blah. I'm like, not really though. Not really.
Yeah, but let's face it. The old black guy is probably Nick's dad in blackface.
They have made it it's because they want to hyper focus on the idea that it needs to be uncomfortable. Like right now, it should be uncomfortable somehow because we have a white guy talking to a black dude. Oh my God, it's just 2 people sitting down talking.
Well, it sells ads. Right? The idea that you're always under threat from the racial menace sells ads on their website.
Yeah, I mean, all it is a phantom. There's nothing real about it. I've spent so much time down south. It goes back to what Tug said. There's a percentage of actual bad people, like actually like true evil people, right? Not a person who's trying to do good, or maybe it can be morally ambiguous, but then makes a bad choice under pressure. The amount of people who seek to do harmful, evil things to other people, that's actually an extremely small number. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we usually deal with them pretty quickly.
Well,
yeah. Well, now they're being emboldened though, because they're basically protected now. But in general, this is a very small number.
real hate doesn't misgender you. Real hate will put a bullet in your face.
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Real hate would point a loaded gun at a pregnant woman.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen real. I mean, like I said, I've grown up. I've been to small towns where I have this distinct memory of we went to when I was about, I guess, 14. I went with about 4 other people. We were going to the movies. We got lost. We ended up in this tiny ass town called Cotton Town, Cotton Town, Tennessee. And the mentality there, we had one of our friends was a black guy, and we went to this gas station. They wouldn't service gas because we had a black guy there. We were all terrible. They told us to move on down the road. But like you said, they were very open and upfront about who and what they were too. And you don't see that as much anymore. The nastiness. We've almost purged that until the woke crowd took over that role.
Koopa says real hate would strike a memorial painting with a lightning bolt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, though you start to see that when it comes to like the woke crowd, they're basically just trying to be, the thought police, right? Like, Tug, that was wrong speak. That was wrong action. You were supposed to do so.
Yeah, your words committed violence against me.
Yeah, Tug, if you had 2 boys, your boys need to be Desmond is Amazing, right? They got to be in dresses and they're gonna try to dictate what you are supposed to do, and then when you try to clap back. It's, oh my God, look, this is violence.
While if you drop your kids off at Drag Queen Story Hour, they get a ball shot.
Dude, I would run into people that would doctor shop. They would be looking for a diagnosis that would allow them to make their children stunning and brave, and they would bring children in. They would bring children in very young. I had a relative that, one of my wife's relatives that she decided that she wanted a stunning and brave child, and she decided that she would have her little boy be a girl basically, and she was trying to doctor shop. She was going around, and you know what? You will find a doctor sooner or later that will give you the diagnosis that you want. That way, you have a diagnosis to give to the school. But what was crazy, it was all predicated on this idea that he watched Frozen once, and I even get confused over he or she. I hear it so much, but they watched Frozen, and when they did, they wanted to dress like it was a boy wanted to be a girl, yeah. So they wanted to dress like a Disney princess, and when they did that, of course, they were showcasing who they were inside, and they doctor shopped that. They got it. They managed to get that, and you know what? Wow. It's caused that child nothing but horrors, and they managed to get a diagnosis for that. This tells you how messed up the situation is. They managed to get a diagnosis at the age they were shopping it at 4 to 5, and they managed to get the diagnosis at 5. And it is not ethical to diagnose a child at that age.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of apologists out there, and I don't care about these people. They can all fucking die off like a damn extinction. I have no respect for these, because apologist. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Like you said, the maps and all this, everything. There's always an apologist. No, you need to understand. Shut up. See, because Tug, do you remember there was a time when that used to be what happened, right? When someone tried to excuse pedophilia, we had someone that put those people in their place, right?
Yeah, you stamp it out, man.
You stamp it out. Now we have a bunch of people.
Shame. What you need, you don't just need social shaming. You need people to fear the ramification of doing something that terrible, preying on the vulnerable. We love this word societally, progressive, but truly being progressive. That's I think is it's not how tall you build a skyscraper or how you treat people wanting to talk about the pronouns. It's how you deal with your most vulnerable populations. And
absolutely.
Now, Tug, you said they doctor shopped, right? Because someone pointed out, and he's a therapist who deals a lot with children. And normally the symptoms need to be present for an extended length of time to make the proper diagnosis of gender dysphoria.
Sure.
But it sounds like they were just looking for the correct doctor, and a doctor rubber stamped it, right?
Well, what you do, okay. I look at that. I was in mental health for long enough, a while. And one of the things that you'll run into is you'll run into people that I mean, in any field, first of all, that don't know what they're doing, but you'll run into people that are just under supervision. They're allowed to, they may be inept. I'm not even going to say the bad faith ones. There are those out there too, but you have people that they have no idea what they're doing. You know, they diagnose, and then a supervisor will only have to sign off roughly 6 to 10% of whatever they do, and it's usually in paperwork like notes. It's not in intake notes. They have a very small percentage they sign off on that. So yeah, I mean, you can have the ineptitude is
So
crazy.
what you're saying, what you're saying is, yeah, you're supposed to wait a certain length of time,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, and again, diagnosis is or diagnostics is an art form. You know, there's
Yeah, it really is.
you can diagnose 75% of the population with some kind of malady, but
Well, that's why get me going into a rant about this ADHD and ADD over a diagnosis.
dude, run into some kid, you know, what a person that every person that diagnoses needs to run into a kid that truly has ADHD. Truly has it. Sit down in that room for about 15 minutes. You'll never forget it.
I told the story once before on the show. So a buddy of mine, he's got a son in middle school. I come to discover that the kid's got, he says, oh yeah, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And I said, really? Because he's been, for the last 40 minutes, we've been focusing on playing this video game. Right? He never once got distracted or was like, oh, I got to get up and walk around, or, you know, or just completely loses track of where he is in the game. So then I asked him, oh, hey, how many other kids in your class were diagnosed with ADHD? And he, you know, you see him hum and haw in a second. He's like, all the boys.
All the boys.
Of course, it's the boys. They double them up early. Now, Tug, I've talked about these kinds of things, right? The war on boys and men and masculinity. And then I got people who come and apologize and try to tell me that, Drex, you have to understand this. I always tell them the same thing. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Anyone who tries to condone this behavior of doping up kids, right? Boys, let me rephrase that. Not kids, boys, right? Everything is always this pill. See, Tug, as you know, I have an issue with bitch-made people in general, right? I hate bitch-made simps. They need to be eradicated. Feminazis need to be eradicated. And we have this thing where everyone wants to, basically, fit in, conform. Everything is okay, Tug, excuse it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Just excuse it. And my answer is no. I'm not going to just condone anything and everything. Not happening. And because, Tug, let's face it, there's no standards anymore, right? Here's the thing. You're talking about mental illness. Hey, Tug, guess what? There was a time when you and I grew up, and when someone talked about, what is grape, people knew what that meant, right? Like, oh, this person held someone down and graped them, right? Now what we have is, well, Tug, you made me feel uncomfortable with your male gaze, so that was grape. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Accusations these days too. Oh, geez, man.
Yeah. Well, you cover misheard.
Well, that's why I get so sick of it. We hear all the time people tell us, I'm out here to change things. I'm out here, I want to make some societal change. We hear this from fucking so many platformers. And yet when we have something like this, they'll cover this as a one and done situation. This case right here impacts all of us because that dude has the money to fight. You need to wake every person up out there. You need to wake them all up. You need to tell them this is what you did as an apologist or as a simp. This is what you've done to society. You ruin people, and you lay out the case. Not only do you ruin people, but you've actually empowered an abuser. You empowered somebody to put a cigarette out on a dude's face. Come on, man.
Right. Well, they've empowered the worst people, and then of course demonized the people that are going to naturally, put down all of the bad stuff, right? And I talked about this earlier with Manic, and I said one of the things that I find to be most critical in this culture war is the guys who actually can and are fully capable of stopping this. Here's what they've done, Tug, and this is really alarming. They've made them become apathetic. right? Because they're like, oh, so if I do something, I'm gonna get punished, and you're gonna shame me if I do something, but you're gonna shame me if I don't do it. And then the guys just stopped caring, right? Like, we've talked about articles where, no one is a white knight anymore, right? Women are out there getting beat down, and guys are just kind of like, meh, right? Just meh. And I've always said, Tug, nothing quite matches apathy, right? Nothing matches it. When you see someone who has no feeling about it, they're just kind of like, whatever. Whatever happens, happens, right? They don't have any they don't have any viewpoint either way. That's far more troubling to see than a person who's passionate either way, right?
I don't. I have to fight apathy with some stuff, to be honest. Though, it is after a while. The amount of it's just the volume, the amount of this, the frequency. It's overwhelming sometimes, and it does make you want to push away from the table and say, "Fuck this." Some days.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we even have situational apathy, right? Like some days you may be in the hero mood, right? You may be just like there's times where you're more you're much more giving, you're more this, you're more that. It just depends on the day that someone caught you on, right? And sometimes as a guy, you can wake up and just be like, I just feel like being altruistic today and just doing something good, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's no reason you didn't. There was no ulterior motive. You just woke up and like, I just feel like you felt compelled even for that 86-year-old war veteran. You just felt compelled to do it, right? But on another day, you could have just, you could have maybe looked over and be like, oh, look, just some old guy, and just gone back to eating, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that happens, right? And the same thing has happened now, Tug, when it comes to, when as society continues to collapse, people are just kind of like, like that's the reaction, literally, just, what's the point, right? Like, what do I gain from basically, here's the thing. It's one thing to not gain something. It's another to be punished for doing it, right? Like, you stop somebody from getting robbed, and because of their ethnicity, you were thrown in jail, right? And I know you've heard those horrible stories.
One of the things that I've become kind of apathetic about is, when I first started YouTubing, we cover political discrimination in industries like comics, right? People being kicked out. Well, I noticed that many of the people that you would talk about, they would be just as repugnant sometimes, or you would take lumps for this stuff, and either these people don't give a fuck about you, they'll let you die on that hill for them, they'll that's okay, and some of them are terrible. I've become apathetic to helping people that, first of all, won't help themselves, and second of all, they got to be, if you're going to go out and risk something. Yeah, in some way, shape, or form, there has to be something. There has to be something in that. There has to be some more than just taking up for some rando because they're being canceled. Because many of them, if we're really being honest, many of them built the society that allowed that shit to happen. Anyway,
Well, let's look at some of the people who've been canceled, right? Aziz Ansari is a huge male feminist, right? Huge. He's a huge male feminist. And look where it got him. He got Me Too'd, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have an obligation to white knight for Aziz because he got Me Too'd, right? Do we have an obligation? Because it was wrong, right? It was wrong that woman posted that bold.com article. Like, that's wrong. And because we know, you and I both know, Tug, sometimes it's not about the whole Aziz thing. What the problem comes from is that deep down, if they can set a precedent, they're just going to end up going further and further, right? They'll say, oh, well, because it was a bad date, that's considered rape. And eventually it'll be, you looked at me wrong, that's rape. Eventually it'll be because you were physically in my presence. Or, I'm sure you heard about that story where a guy got thrown in jail because a woman dreamed about a guy doing bad things to her, right?
Yep.
You can't make that up. Like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. The person didn't physically do anything. That you dreamed about, Tug, that could happen to you tomorrow, right? You're just living your life, you're with your daughters, and then the cops come and arrest you. Like, what am I being arrested for? And they said, you're being arrested for, sexual harassment and rape. And you're like, well, wait, what did I do? And then you wind up in court. They're like, oh, this random woman dreamed about you doing something bad to her. Okay, well, but if that's true, then, Tug, and this is where the problem comes from. If that's true, then watch this. All right, I dreamed that she did something bad to me. So what's going to happen to her? Oh, no, nothing happens to her, though. Right? It's like, now you see the problem. And of course, and women don't stop this. They're not, simps aren't going to stop it. They're just going to enable it.
Well, they also say, I love that argument of, well, if you take on false accusation, then you're gonna throw people in jail that they just can't prove something happened. No, fuck that. You have safeguards against that stuff. But you've got to. We have to do something. There's an epidemic of men having their lives ruined over false accusation, and women should look at this as well. I mean, if you're talking about standing up for victims, are you fucking standing up for victims by creating male victims out of this? Hell no.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When we had Kat on, I talked to her about this online and offline, and I said, you have to understand. And I had this, here's what's funny. The women that we've engaged with, especially that are single, and we, shout out to our girl Anna for the same issue, because she, talks about the effects of being an attractive, virgin girl who wants marriage and kids. Guys are just staying away from them, right?
Yeah.
Because all they can see is, yeah, you could do it though, right? Yeah. Because, and this is why I say, all the women who say that they're good women, no, Drex, I'm not one of the bad ones. But what did you do to stop the bad ones? If you claim because let's face it, Tug, you can't claim to be a good woman if while the bad women were doing bad things, you did literally nothing, right? You just sat there like, oh, I see women are falsely accusing guys. Oh, well, right? Oh, I see the laws being bad. Oh, well. And then, like you said, Tug, those are the same people that cry a foul when they wind up being 35 and single and childless, right? Like, what happened?
That's why I like some of this Depp situation, because you see a lot of women waking up to the idea, whoa, this is fucking broken. This is, it's astounding. It's astounding to see, again, some of it's celebrity, some of it's just a big name to throw out. I mean, there's all, it could be caused by a million different things, but the end result is you see a backlash against this societal thing that breaks men. It's breaking men on the wheel. It breaks them every day. I knew this guy in this town that he was going through a pretty nasty divorce. This woman cheated on him. She was just repugnant. I mean, horrible. But they had a little kid, and she wanted everything. So she said that he did some pretty awful things to his kid, and he had a terrible lawyer, and he went to prison. And later on, the kid was very young, and the kid went with what some of the mom said. And this guy, I mean, you could tell that there was something wrong with this because of the type of person that was. Either you're misreading humanity in general, or this is a lie. And the kid recanted later on, but nothing ever happened to the mother.
Nothing's gonna happen. And I've talked to women about that. And I told Kat, and I said, Kat, the women before you did so much damage that when I don't like to say, it's over for women. Like, look, I would like to, Tug, in an ideal world, I would like to say, hey, women, you guys have a chance. Guys, you guys have a chance, right? In terms of, male-female relationships, right? It's over. It really is. Can there be a rare one here and there? Yeah, of course. That's always going to happen, right?
I wouldn't date in this setup. I would not. I would go out and I would have my I'd have a booty call here or there, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Nick said the same thing.
I had a lot of years before I settled down.
So Nick is my brother, and we talk about these things, right? And Nick said, look, man, he looked at like the landscape. He hears, right? Like Nick, he's fully aware, he has an idea of how bad it is out there, right?
Sure.
And Nick said, man, from what I've been hearing, and people keep saying how bad it is, he goes, I would just check out and just not date, not nothing, just done, right? Just done.
And brings up a good point. Tug, call Phil. Get yourself a doll.
Oh yeah. Phil, and I'm gonna say, Tug, what do you think about the dolls entering the lexicon coming in this very near future?
I'm actually not surprised by it at all, man. Because again, look at all the chances that you take with real people, and yeah, that's why you have so many feminists that get mad about that kind of stuff, because they know that it takes away their power, it takes away their ability to falsely accuse.
The doll is the single greatest threat to their power.
Yeah.
Well, not the doll. It's the doll in conjunction with the artificial womb. I'm not lying when I say this, Tug. I believe that's going to be the absolute end game. Like it'll be.
Well, and that's why it'll
done.
never happen, Drex.
Oh no. But remember though, Tim, I do believe it's going to happen because this is the main reason why. Remember, the only things that are allowed to happen are when there are things that are supposed to be a benefit for women, right? And Phil acknowledges this. He says, in order to get the artificial womb, you do not, under any circumstance, sell the artificial womb to men, right? You don't sell that idea. You don't sell the premise. You sell it to all the post-wall
You sell it
women.
to the Candace Bushnells of the world.
Absolutely, you sell it to all the post-wall women. Look, you can still have a kid, right? You can't sell it to men going, hey guys, now you can't get Me Too'd, you can't wind up in divorce court, you can't wind up in family court because we have the artificial womb. It's going to be 100% your kid. You have full legal rights and custody. You can't say that to men. You have to preach all of the advantages to women. Like, ladies, you won't have some toxic man, being mean to you and hurting you and making you cook and clean. And the ladies go, yeah. And then the guys are like, wait a minute, so I can get it? They're like, yeah, you if you want to buy, get this artificial womb and have a baby as a single man, sure.
And then all of a sudden, overnight,
oh, dude,
we made a mistake.
Dude, it's gonna be over, Tug. I've told women to prepare for this. It's gonna be over permanently, right? Like, it's becoming, obviously we're entering, full communism and we're entering totalitarian state. That's what's coming next. Because this is what people wanted, right? People say they don't want that, but that's what they want. That's what they vote for. So that's coming next. And once we get to that point, you've seen some of these movies, I'm sure, like WALL-E, all these dystopian future movies.
Oh yeah.
Once the relationship between men and women is done, because the family's done, right? Women already sold out everybody. And they chose to align with government and destroy the family, right? Women did that. Ladies, you and you alone did that. Don't blame men. Don't blame the so-called abusers and blah blah blah. It was just you. You ran with the government to destroy the family. So, Tug, once you destroy the family and your society collapses, people start to adapt and cope, right? The doll is a cope. The artificial womb is a cope. Hentai is a cope. And Tug, let's be honest.
Amputated goblins.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned that yet today, so I had to get it in there. Drex, we're at 2 hours in this recording.
Oh, snap. Well, Tug, I do have a last question for you.
Sure.
Let's say there's a guy out there who's tired of woke. He has an idea. He wants to get out there, or a gal. They want to go ahead and make comics. What advice can you give that? Yeah, I know you're the comic guru. What advice would you give them to just get out there and start their own comic?
Honestly, before you start making comics, you need to figure out how you're going to engage your audience. The difference between making $3,000 and making $100,000 is the fact that you've got to reach people, and you need to figure that out. That's I wanted to launch a comic well before I did, but I knew that I would not hit a maximized audience there, and it's about sustainability too. If you want to go out, you want to have you want to be able to reach people. You also, come on, I'm not a communist here. I want to make money. It's that too. Well, yeah, you got to find an audience. So figure that out. Then while you're doing it, figure out your craft. If you're an artist, you're right there. You can do everything independently. I'm not the artist on a comic book. I'll write, edit, we'll have ideas, share them back and forth, do whatever. But yeah, I have to hire people like that. So if you got the talent, you can even skip some of the middleman. Find people that hone your craft and find people that want to put something out there and, kind of draft off of whatever they have, that audience. You can put it together and build your own that way too.
All right, Tug, poker or no poker?
Poker or no poker?
So have you ever seen Redo of Healer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Would you use the poker?
Oh, Lord. Oh. I would have said, are you talking about taking the poker? No.
If you're doing the poking, would you have poked homegirl or not with the hot poker?
Yeah, I would have, definitely.
Yeah, do you know that every female said yes?
You know what? Hey, what those people did to him, destroy. I don't feel bad.
You're the first guy to have said yes. Like, every guy is like, oh, that's a little much, and every chick is like, oh yeah, do it.
I don't think it went far. You know what, man? Somebody, like, if I look at it like if it were my situation, that's the question there. I'll do it. Yeah, it's when I've decided to get my revenge on, it's on.
Yep.
Also, people keep trying to steal Rackets' balls or no balls question. I disapprove, so please don't answer that. Oh, please say the umbrella guy loves you all.
Well, I do my hey there, and that umbrella guy loves you all. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Tug, go ahead, show your stuff. How can people find you?
All right. Well, you can find me on YouTube. That umbrella guy, pretty easy there. Just look me up. We just run like a run-on sentence. Although now it's gotten big enough, you can break it apart and find me. We are launching a comic relatively soon too. It'll be our third. We've actually delivered two, so we do fulfill. We want to do an all ages, so that's that means for all audiences. It doesn't mean for kids. That just means everybody can enjoy it. Where we mix horror, detective noir, and we have fun, man. That's what that product should have been a long time ago. If you want to support change, dude, like I said, we can sit around and we can bitch and moan about these companies forever, or we can stop putting our money there because these people think it's a privilege for you to interact with them. They've said that. They say it. It's a privilege there, not a God-given right. Well, it's a real privilege. You open your wallet. So open your wallet where it counts. Support the things that you like.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, where can people buy your comics?
We'll go with Indiegogo. The way I've ran it so far, I've just ran it off of campaigns, and then I print however many that I want there, plus maybe a couple hundred extras. So I may have a few extras on that print run. But if you've backed that print run, that's all that's out there of that print run. I haven't remade them, put them out anywhere. I've tried to keep it exclusive to that. That part of owning comics is rarity as well, and if people just keep shitting out the same comic over and over again, I want people to feel like they got a value out of it. They enjoyed it. They backed something, and again, it's rare these days. People ask you to back everything. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. If you like something, back it. But I like this idea of trading a product for backing. I don't like sponsors. The sponsor that I like is having a customer as a sponsor. I don't want anyone ever hurting my voice, ever crippling what I want to say. I never want to answer or be answerable. So, yeah, the way I do that is, again, usually once a year, we'll do an Indiegogo. They've been really successful, and I hope that they stay that way.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tug, for joining us. Let's close out the show here, Drex. We don't have any more emails since a couple hours ago when we went through them.
That went fast, man. I didn't realize.
That was a fast,
right? You're like 2 hours.
It always goes like this with him.
I think it's also, we've gotten used to the Flashcast 9 hours.
Yeah.
Usually Drexel on a stream, man. It's like 5 hours, I'm
gonna have to do like a 6-parter whenever we have Flash in here doing an episode.
Yeah, well, what's crazy, Tug, is that Nick and I have talked about that. Like in the past, that's just literally what we did. Like, dude, like we've spent days, right? Like, but you remember those days, right? Guys, you just hanging out with your guys, playing games, talking shit all day. And before you know it, it's like, yo, Tug, man, we gotta go eat, man. They're about to close. Yeah. Right? Like you looked at the time and that was 8 hours gone.
I remember how that, I'd have my friends crash over at my house. I mean, you would live around whatever video game you're doing or whatever medium that it is.
Something was keeping everybody like as a general focus, and you still had like little gaps where someone was saying this or that. I mean, we had times where we were playing Mario Party easily 6 hours straight, no breaks. When it came out on N64, straight. Like I'm talking.
But then Drex, you put the controller down, and your stomach makes the world's loudest growl.
Oh yeah, you do really. Once someone makes you aware of that, Tug, we haven't eaten in 7 hours, dude. You were like, oh my god, I am. In the moment they said it, do you remember that, Tug? You immediately got hungry, right? Like, I gotta go eat something right now.
Oh, I know it well.
I won't even wait another second. I have to eat something literally right now. Let's go. We're hitting up whatever is open. And back then that was Perkins, right? Perkins was our go-to spot as high schoolers, right? It's you're 16, 17, 18, it's summer break. You had Perkins open 24 hours. You were on it.
All right. Well, that will do it for this week, everyone. We appreciate having Tug in as a guest. Thank you so much. Find us, youtube.com/Migtown Podcast, patreon.com/Migtown Podcast, subscribestar.com/Migtown-podcast. You guys know where to find us. You know how to support us. Have a great day and stay frosty.
Peace.